Everybody gets wounded emotionally, psychologically. You can't escape that. It may end, the war they're in, the conflict they're in may end, but the battle inside, the mind and the brain goes on forever. 90% of my life is in my rearview mirror. It's only 10% left, and I want to make the best out of this 10%.
Making Russia strong. Equal share for everyone.
Yes, Commander. Target sighted. Yes, Commander. Target sighted. Vessel ready.
A couple hours later, we got on the plane.
Building the Soviet Empire.
Came out the door to this oppressive heat and these terrible smells and the humidity, and it was staggering, really. The term you kept hearing was, we're going to go north, we're going to go north. Eventually my name was called, I went with the group, and they said, you'll be flying up to Dongha. And they said, you're only here for a day and you're going to Quezon.
U.S. Marine Corps jets unleash a heavy bomb attack on Hill 861 near Quezon, South Vietnam.
When I checked in with the CO or the first sergeant, he said to me, you're going to get attached out to an infantry company. And it was real peaceful there. They had not taken a round of incoming since the summertime. The hill fights were not a memory, but they were in the past. But they were famous in Marine Corps history. And the guy said, see that hill over there, that bump, that dirty bump of hill? I said, yeah. He said, that's Hill 861. And this is so historical. It's like Bunker Hill or Omaha Beach that I went and took a picture of it with my camera, and I didn't realize then that on the day after Christmas in '67 I'd be on that hill and go through the siege there. 2 days later, this lieutenant looked pretty beat up, came up to me and he said, I'm Lieutenant Holderness. I've been the FO. Here are the maps, here's the compass, here's some binoculars. And I said, do I hold these for the lieutenant? And he said, no, there's a shortage of line officers. You're the FO.
Ready. Building.
In the Marine Corps FO team, there's an officer, there's an enlisted scout, and there's a radio operator who's also enlisted.
Unit ready.
My company commander had a staff meeting. So I walked in with my little Paris Island red notebook, and he looked up and he said, what the fuck are you? The gunny jumped up and said, this is PFC Mannion, sir. He's taking Lieutenant Holderness's job. He said, Jesus, I can't have a non-NCO at my staff. We just make him a corporal. And the first sergeant jumped up and said, sir, he hasn't been a lance corporal. He said, first sergeant, it's 0930, loading the lance corporal. When he comes back from moonshine, make him a corporal. And that's how I got to be a corporal. The number of operations pretty minor in the fall of '67.
War minor here.
In November, we were at Dongha, and they told us that Kilo Company was going to go up Route 1 the next day and establish another fire base. The trucks were actually rolling up, and then a Jeep went flying by and pulled in front of the first truck and stopped. And the major got out, and he said, you got to turn these trucks around, they're going to Quezon. So they turned all the trucks around, we went right to the airstrip at Dongha, got on choppers, and they flew to Quezon. That was the build-up for what became the siege. We got there on the 12th, started running patrols every day. There was no gunfire, there was no fighting, absolutely none. And then Christmas came and went. And on the 26th, we saddled up and we walked at least 1,000 meters off the flat ground and then worked our way up 861.
Elevation 60, we got one by machine gun dead.
Battle control.
We ran patrols every day starting on the 27th of December. There was a long patrol and a short one, and the FO team went with the long patrol. On the 15th of January, they sealed up the gates. No more patrolling outside the hills. 5 days later, it's the 20th. A couple Marines spotted a couple NVA on the ridgeline, 500 meters away. We called in a fire mission, adjusted twice, 12 rounds maybe, 105s. And then they organized a patrol. They got permission to go out, and I didn't have to go, but I wanted to go. I wanted to see where the rounds hit, what it might have done. I wore my black low Converse sneakers. 45 minutes later, we're up there. The elephant grass is all smashed down. There's blood trails, there's pools of blood. There were no bodies right there. They were drag marks going to the west. So we requested permission to go after them.
Construction complete.
And the radio operator, 2 seconds later, said, permission denied, turn around and come back. And the staff sergeant got on the horn and he said, there's bloodstains here, request permission to pursue further. And Jasper got on the radio personally and said, turn your men around now and come back. Down at the combat base, somebody stood up outside the last strand of wire with a white rag in his hand. It was an NVA guy, he was an officer. And he said, tonight at midnight, 861 is going to get attacked, 81 South is going to get attacked, and the combat base when the sun comes up. Started to get dark, and we were on 100% alert because the NVA were out there cutting the wire. You could hear them. You could hear the wire being cut. You'd hear, and then the wire would spring back. And they were giggling and laughing. And you couldn't see them.
We
Total
are armed.
darkness.
Looks
And
like
it was
good
really
place to mine.
eerie.
Vehicle reporting. Waiting
Listen
order.
to people cutting the wire because they know they're coming through that at some point.
Vehicle reporting.
Insufficient.
Vehicle
Just before
reporting.
midnight,
Moving.
we heard a
Vehicle
noise, a
report.
voice
Waiting
coming up
order.
from the trench
Changing
line.
position.
There was a Navy corpsman, Malcolm Mole. What are you doing up here? So I
Waiting
got to go to the
orders.
bathroom. And at
You
the
are
same
sure?
time that happened, we got a call on the landline from the captain that there were NVA spotted outside of the wire at the southern end of the hill, and he wanted us to go down there. By the time we got down there, we were just crossing the LZ when a green flare went up, and all of a sudden the entire northwest corner of the hill is being targeted.
Waiting order. Comrade, moving out. Let's clear the air.
Malcolm
Making
Mole was
track.
actually
Vehicle
on his way
reporting.
down from using the bathroom. He was halfway down the slope, and an
Ready,
RPG
comrade.
killed him instantly.
Moving.
I used to think about him for the longest time, still do, to be
We
by
are
himself
armed.
with no one around,
Waiting
moving
order.
down the hill in the dark,
Vehicle
picking his way
reporting.
down,
Comrade,
and
changing
thinking how
position.
scared he
Union.
must have been, but
Attacking.
hustling back down to be with his platoon when the battle came in. And he was,
Construction.
he, because of his personality and the fact that we were friendly with him and he liked David and I, it
Pride of
really
the working
stung.
class.
It really did.
Vehicle reporting. Ready, comrade. Vehicle reporting. Changing position. Vehicle reporting. Moving.
I said to David, we've got to get back up. We need to get back up to the top. And we got
Vehicle
near the
reporting.
CP bunker and it
Changing
was already
building.
Soviet
shambles.
economy. Let's keep the
I said,
ore
David,
moving.
we can't go across the top of the hill.
Making
We need to
Russia
go back
strong.
down,
Equal
get
share
to the
right
trench
of
line,
the
and
working
we'll
class.
work our way up
Let's
the
keep
western
the ore
trench
moving.
line. Meanwhile, you know,
Moving.
explosions and gunfire
Waiting order.
calling in
Vehicle
105.
waiting order. Changing position.
We worked our way up the trench line, and at some point there was this huge explosion to our right and
Conscript
above
report,
us.
comrade.
Almost
Waiting
green,
order. Ready,
and it was the
comrade.
106
Reporting.
recoilless rifle
Changing
positions being
position.
blown up with all the
Ready,
ammunition
comrade.
stacked underneath it.
Waiting
You
order.
can't see anything, it's
Changing
totally dark.
position.
Then we got to a
Vehicle
machine gun
reporting.
bunker, and I
Moving.
yelled, where's your team? Where are they? And he said, I don't know, they're gone.
Cannot report.
They ran. I mean, they left.
Unit ready.
He said, well, and what are you doing here, Dennis? And I said, well, we've got to get
What
up
is the
further
mission?
around the corner
Let's
to be able
clear
to
the
see.
air.
And
Let's
he
clear
said,
the
well,
air.
there's an NVA guy
Vehicle
right in the
reporting.
trench line there.
Vehicle reporting.
You're going to have to get by him, and he's still alive. I said to
Waiting
David, give me
order.
your 45, and I eased my body out of the back of that machine gun
Ready,
bunker
comrade.
and into
Waiting
the trench
order.
line like this, and I was feeling in the dark and scooting out further
Vehicle
and further,
reporting.
and I got to a
Moving.
point
Waiting
where
order.
I felt
Waiting
his
order.
head,
Vehicle reporting. We will
and
bury
I
them.
pushed a little bit, and he started to bring his head up.
Waiting
He
order.
was lying face down,
Moving.
and I just
Vehicle
took my
reporting.
hand away. In the
Encountering
dark, I
enemy.
just fired him.
Changing position.
And he was dead then.
Waiting order.
And then we worked our way to another bunker, and we took over that where we could see the ridge line and call in fire and adjust fire. And so we were there for the rest of the night. And it gradually eased off,
Unit
and it was clear we weren't going to be contested any further.
Reporting.
And then got to be just about sunlight, and all of a sudden from the southwest, boom,
Ready,
boom.
comrade.
The
Pride of the
opening
working
rounds
class.
of the artillery
Let's
hitting
keep
the
the
line.
line of the working class.
And the guy was right.
Vehicle
Just
reporting.
after sunlight, they were going to attack
Making
the
tracks.
base. But they had figured at that point they would have overrun both hills. That didn't happen.
Ready for transport. Making tracks.
on hold.
Ready,
When the sun
comrade.
came up,
Ready,
the
comrade.
combat base was now being shelled.
Do you have a plan?
On top hill, so we went back down the trench line, stepped right on the dead NVA soldier in the trench, and then worked our way to the landing zone, and then went up the hill that way. we came around the corner, and the gunnery sergeant, who I really like, Melvin Rummel,
What is the mission? I'll
he
carry
was
out the
laying on his
operation.
back, and I closed his eyes, used my thumbs, and I closed his eyes for him.
Waiting order.
I mean, I literally cried
comrade.
for him,
Moving.
and for all of us, really.
Channel support.
Waiting order.
Gunnery sergeants in the Marine Corps, their job is to kick people in the ass and do what the captain wants them to do.
Ready, comrade.
And to see him
Changing
dead,
position.
I thought, Jesus, I mean, if a guy like this gets killed,
Moving.
we're all gonna
Unit
get killed.
lost. Unit
He
ready.
told a bunch of us at one point, 5 or 6
Waiting
days
order.
before the siege, it's gonna get bad here.
Confirmed.
And we know it's gonna get bad. You need to
Vehicle
look out for
reporting.
each other.
Moving.
You cannot be
Waiting
afraid.
order.
You need to act with courage. Make sure you trust the people to the right and to the left.
Moving. Changing position.
He said, all of this is fate.
Unit ready.
5 days later, he's dead.
Unit promoted.
Vehicle reporting.
Gunny Rummel.
Waiting order.
Under attack. Construction complete.
Disc in flight.
Repairing. Channel support.
Making Russia strong. Let's keep the
We
war
are
moving.
armed.
They sent a patrol
We will
out
need that.
the next morning, so it's the
Ready,
22nd.
comrade.
And I
Waiting
went.
order,
They
comrade.
were only going to go right
Moving.
outside the triple concertina to see if there were any
Vehicle reporting.
dead that they could bring in.
Location confirmed.
Somehow those guys got inside the wire in the first 10 minutes. When they withdrew, they dragged as many of their dead
Unit
people
ready.
away as they could.
Repairing.
The people they couldn't drag away
Unit
were the
ready.
people who were on the hill but just inside the wire, and people
Waiting order.
in the wire itself.
Changing position.
There must have been 20
Waiting
or 30
order.
of them.
Changing position.
Those
Vehicle
guys
reporting.
rotted over the next week, just rotted terribly. When the wind was blowing towards us, down in that end of the fence line were their gas masks at times from the stench. And literally, with my binoculars, you could see an arm inside the wire with just a skeleton where his hand used to be. The rats cleaned them out and the maggots cleaned
I'll
them
carry out the operation.
Life on the hill deteriorated into just living in the ground. All the digging we did on A61 was with entrenching
Vehicle
tools. There was not
reporting.
one shovel on the
Ready,
hill.
comrade. Waiting order.
All the food and all the
Moving.
water had to come to 861 by helicopter. We didn't have our own water source. We were sometimes one canteen a day.
Under attack.
We lived in the dirt. We slept on
Building
the pieces
Soviet
of
economy.
cardboard that sea rations were wrapped up in. Your pants got so filthy dirty and crusted that they would rot off at the knees. The hooded sweatshirt my father sent me, the arms rotted off eventually. I took a field shower in Dong Ha just after Thanksgiving in '67 when we were going up to Contian, and I didn't wash until we got out of Quezon in April
Moving.
of '68.
Vehicle reporting.
That's what life on the hill was like.
Unit lost.
Moving. Waiting order. Moving.
So tell me about this map. Where did this map come
As an FO, you just have a map. You call in, get coordinates, and call in artillery.
Repairing.
I got this one, and it's actually two maps that I taped together because
Ready,
at the time
comrade.
we didn't know which way we would be going.
Waiting
It
order.
soon
Comrade.
became red from the dust.
Vehicle reporting. Changing
Every
position.
square that you see is 1,000 meters. These are 1,000-meter grid squares. I look at this map sometime at night and I think about all the stuff that happened in particular grid squares. Not specifically, but I think people were there, they were trying to kill one another.
Building.
At some point I radioed the combat
War
base,
miner
and I
here.
asked them for an extra pair of binoculars for my radio.
Relocating
So when I
operation.
radioed down, they said, we don't have any. So the next day, after the 21st, when we got partially overrun, I radioed down and said, my binoculars got blown
Building
up.
Soviet
And
economy.
that afternoon, we had
Let's
another
keep
pair
the
of
war
binoculars.
moving.
These are the binoculars that I stole from the Marine Corps. Those are the original ones I was assigned to, and then
Building
those are the
Soviet
ones I
economy.
reported as being
Soviet
broken.
economy.
Vehicle reporting.
For the next couple of months, we had such binoculars.
Vehicle
They also
reporting.
brought us in big set
Vehicle
of
reporting.
binoculars from the Navy ship. I used to look at the hill 500 meters away from me. It was unbelievable to look through that and see the NBA over there digging and throwing dirt around and bringing
Ready,
stuff
comrade.
up on top of that ridge
Moving.
line.
Case off. In March, the siege by the enemy is still underway.
So,
But
Pride
now
of the
the
working
end
class.
is in sight.
Looks like a good place to
2.5
mine.
months of shelling day and night. No hot cow, mud and
Waiting
dry.
order.
Red
Moving.
dust.
I'll carry out the operation.
Now Marines are moving out into the hills looking for the enemy.
unit.
What is the mission?
On the 12th of April, they told us we were packing up, that and we were leaving by helicopter, and we were going to go to 881 South. And no one knew really what we were going to do.
Ready,
So I remember
comrade.
getting off the helicopter,
Ready, comrade.
turning into the trench line, coming around the corner, and there
Moving.
was what was human flesh all over the side walls of the trench line. It was
War
really
miner
scary.
here.
And then we were told we were
Nah,
going to
we will need
attack
that.
on
Waiting
Easter
orders.
Sunday, 881
Ready,
North.
comrade.
When the sun came up,
Building.
they were already running airstrikes.
Cannot deploy here.
They're firing artillery in grid squares. They're just moving a whole grid square ahead of us. I would say, okay, shift the box, and they would shift the guns to another 500 meters ahead. And they were firing directly over our heads as we moved up onto the top, as the NVA would really dug in up there.
What is the mission?
And all the artillery strikes and the airstrikes decimated them. And we killed a
Pride
bunch
of
of
the
people up
working
there,
class.
but most of them had
Making
fled
Russia
off
strong.
their hill to the north.
Waiting orders. Moving.
We hunkered down on 881 North,
yes?
broken trees, gunpowder smell everywhere,
Let's
blood
clear the
everywhere.
air. Making
And
tracks.
we waited. 3 companies just waited. What are we going to do now? And then the word came, going back 881 South. So we attack it, we take it, and a couple hours later they say, okay, pack up, you're going back.
Do you have a plan?
Okay, what do we even go here for?
War miner here. Nah, we will need that.
The next morning on the
What is the
15th,
mission?
helicopters are flying
Do you
into
have a
881
plan?
South, one after the other. They're picking
carry out
up
the
everybody in
operation.
326 up there, and they're flying back to the combat base
Armored
because we're
personnel
getting out.
here.
We're going to leave this on in a day.
Ready, comrade.
I had befriended a
Vehicle
lieutenant,
reporting.
Benjamin
Changing
Steve Fordham.
position.
He
Let's
went to
clear the
Baylor,
air.
so I
Blast
talked
away.
Notre Dame football, he
War
talked
miner
Texas
here.
football, we talked about
War
books,
miner here.
we
Let's
talked
keep
about
the ore
girls.
moving.
He
Ready
was
for
really a
transport.
good guy.
I'll
Come
carry out
by,
the operation.
sit and have supper with
Ready for
us. He
transport.
really was a genuinely good officer. We're in the dirt next to one another as the helicopters are coming in and they're taking out first platoon, second platoon, then the CP group, and he's going to be on the last helicopter.
Pride of the
While we
working
were laying
class.
next to one another in the dirt, 2 rounds hit some distance away. I said, I hope they're not adjusting those. And he said, if they're half as good as you, they won't hit shit.
Vehicle reporting.
My helicopter's
Changing position.
landing in the LZ, they're
Vehicle
46s,
reporting.
and as I
Moving.
start to get up,
Ready
he
for
squeezes
transport.
my hand, and he says, I'll see you at the base.
Clear the air. Waiting orders.
5 minutes go by, and the helicopter lands, ramp goes down,
Promoted.
Waiting
the Marines are
orders.
carrying
Location
4 people,
confirmed.
5 people. Lieutenant Fordham was one, his radio operator was
Building
another.
Soviet economy.
Those rounds had
Let's
been
keep the
ejected,
ore moving.
and they landed right
Waiting
behind
orders.
them.
Commandant General.
It
Location
was awful.
confirmed. Armored personnel here.
War miner here. Looks
I
like
hadn't
good
shaved
place
in
to
a month.
mine.
I had a mustache all the
Helium
time.
mix
Some guys had
optimal.
beards. I hadn't had a
Maneuver
haircut
props
in
engaged. Airship ready.
4 months.
Maneuver
Airship
props
We checked in,
raised.
and the first
Maneuver
sergeant
props
looks at us and he said, "What are you doing? You don't even look like Marines. Go get a haircut.
What is the mission?
Shave."
I'll carry out the operation.
Captain Sneed came
Ready for
over.
transport.
He said, "We're getting the real FO in the morning."
Waiting
He
orders.
said, "We're getting a real FO." Like I wasn't the FO?
Catch that.
Okay. And I said, "Am I going to stay and be the scout?" And he said, "No, I'm getting out of the field." I'm going home. Going home. In the morning, the guy came off the helicopter. I handed him the binoculars and the maps I had. And we flew out on a Continental jet again, and this time it didn't stop in the middle of the Pacific because it could fly all the way to El Toro. And then we landed, and we came down the ramp, and there were kids, younger Marines sitting under those palm trees at the picnic tables.
Waiting orders.
That
Vehicle
was
reporting.
a year ago. So thankful.
Change position.
Building.
Waiting orders. Location confirmed. Ready, comrade. Moving. Vehicle reporting. Changing position.
When I got home, my mother opened the door, took a step backwards, and almost fainted.
Getting in.
On top of the TV console were 2 little 4-inch square televisions. I hadn't been home 5
What
minutes,
is the
and I
mission?
said,
Our base.
"What's with the TVs?" She said, "It's your father. Every night at 6:30, he watches the news, ABC,
We are
NBC,
armed.
and CBS."
Waiting order.
He watched it every day.
Unit promoted. Building.
He came in at 5
We are
o'clock,
armed.
5:30. I stood up.
Let's clear the air.
He said,
Track away.
"How long
What
have
is
you
the
been
mission?
home?"
Making tracks.
Helium
So
mix
I got in the
optimal. Helium
God
mix
damn it.
optimal.
You didn't call me? You didn't come see me?
Ready, comrade.
It's like I could never please him.
Ready for transport.
I flunked out of his college, and now I didn't come see him. And in retrospect,
Armored
I've got
personnel
kids of my
carrier.
own.
Ready.
It was a
Maneuvering.
bad way to treat my father.
Making
What is the
Russians
mission?
strong.
Guns
I can
loaded.
think
miners
of
here.
3 specific
Nah,
reasons
we will need that.
when I should have died. If the round had been
Vehicle
12
reporting.
inches to the right of the
Waiting order.
mortar shell, literally 12 inches away from the hole I was.
Location confirmed.
Ba-boom,
Vehicle reporting.
ba-boom, ba-boom,
Right,
and then
the working
boom, one
class.
hit right on our
Ready,
shoulder,
comrade.
right in front of me. That was my first real one from Vietnam. I would say lucky.
Vehicle reporting. Moving. Pride of the working class. We are the army. It looks like a good place to
In
mine.
my downtime, in the siege, at any other time
What
in
is the
Vietnam,
mission?
I wrote. I
Making
was
tracks.
going to
Let's clear the air. What is the mission?
And I wrote a lot of letters.
Here,
And
them
I
up.
sent me tons of letters. I had people writing letters all the time. And I start this letter going, motherfucker. Here's a drawing of a bunk. We slept on cardboard for a long time. But eventually we got 2 cots. That's the bunker. Joe Doherty was my best friend from high school. Known each other since 8th grade, still friends today. He saved every letter that I wrote. There was at least 100, 125 letters. The siege had been underway for 10 days. The Tet Offensive was just started. And I really thought I was going to get killed up there. And I wrote this letter to him. And it was a farewell letter that I wrote to my parents and my brothers and sister. I said to Joe, when I get killed, I want you to bring this to
Ready,
their house.
comrade.
Waiting order.
Moving.
For Mother Russia.
I felt I needed to say goodbye to them because I didn't leave on great
Ready,
terms.
comrade.
I wrote it,
Moving.
put it in the envelope, and I put a note on the outside. I said, Joe, I want you to bring this to their house.
Changing position.
So this is the fin assembly. This is what's left of an 82 mortar.
What is the mission?
And so when it goes
Do you
up,
have a
turns
plan?
and comes down, when it hits there,
Do you have a plan?
and it blows
I'll carry
up,
out the
all
operation.
the
Do you have a
shrapnel goes
plan?
in every direction. And
Moving.
some of it
Do you
goes
have
up.
a plan?
Waiting order.
I know. If I can do this and it works for you. You want to turn the lights off right that way? Can you see that? Every big hole or every big tear that you see in that towel means you're dead. And every little piece means surgery at some point or removal of shrapnel. I think shrapnel is the greatest cause of injury and death to soldiers on battlefields.
You think about that day, huh, when you look at that towel.
I do. Up close it could have been right away.
Cutting path.
I'd have been one of the new guys that got hit for the first 30 days.
Changing position.
It is pretty humbling to see it and understand that how close I came.
Moving.
Armored personnel
I didn't want to go
carrier.
back to Vietnam
Guns
and to
loaded.
Quezon,
Let's clear
stand
the air.
there like I did in
Making tracks.
September of
Guns
'67
loaded.
and look up and say, oh, there's
Ready,
861.
comrade.
I didn't
Let's
want
clear
that.
the air.
Position.
If I
Do you
couldn't
have a
go,
plan?
and when I knew I was going to go, I grabbed a whole fistful of West
clear
Palm
the air.
and I
I'll
wrote
carry out
28
the operation.
names and the day they died. And my
Waiting
plan was
order.
to read them up there when we were all up there.
Liberty is sweet. Charge! What can I do?
Vehicle
Do you have a plan? Making tracks.
Here's Donkey right here, 950. So if you kind of put the map just like that, right? There's 950 and right.
Good. The pressure. Dive! Checking periscope. What is the mission? What is the mission? Let's clear the air.
I've been waiting 32 years for this day.
I wanted to go to 861, stand on that hill, because I wanted to pay tribute to the friends and Marines who died up
Ready,
there.
comrade.
Because you never get a
Changing
chance to say
position.
goodbye when they get killed. You don't have time. You have a job to
have a
do. You
plan?
have to keep on
Vehicle
going.
reporting.
We hired a man. We had a driver. Went up to Quezon. We walked around the combat base. A night
Ready,
later, we
comrade.
What is
packed
the
up.
mission? Getting in close.
Vehicle reporting. Vehicle reporting. Comrade.
We made our way
Order
up. It was
reporting.
wet and kind of
Vehicle
rainy.
reporting.
And we got to a point where we got onto a small ridge line. It was clearly a clearing. We
Nice
weren't
day
uphill,
for a
we were
cruise.
flat, and everybody stopped to rest.
Vessel
And all of a
ready.
sudden I
Target
realized
sighted. Vessel ready.
there were holes in the ground.
We're in a Marine Corps position here, fellas.
Moving.
American fucking camped right here. Plastic
Ready,
bags with sea
comrade.
rats.
Ready, comrade. Vehicle
33
reporting.
years ago. Probably
Location
hill fights.
confirmed.
Spring.
Waiting order.
67. Right here. Look at this.
Location confirmed. Vehicle
Still,
reporting.
underneath it's still good. You can read the writing.
There had been foxholes, probably dug during the hill fights.
Do you have a plan?
Start digging down in them, and you found sea ration spoons. It was incredible to think we were standing right here.
Cutting
Are
path.
these dead?
I found my bunker.
Bearing set.
I know, right
Yes,
my
Commander.
pack is where my bunker was.
Vessel ready.
Fire at will.
Ready for transport. Blast away. Let's clear the air. Maneuvering.
Vehicle reporting. Vehicle ready, comrade. Location confirmed.
32 years ago.
Vehicle reporting. Vehicle ready, comrade.
It seemed
Changing
so
position.
goddamn small.
Unit ready.
So
Vessel
contained like
ready.
that. It's your memory and your imagination that
ready.
makes it bigger than it really was. I mean, it doesn't diminish what happened up
Ready,
there.
comrade.
And I thought, well, how could all this shit happen in an area like this size? It did.
Changing position.
We made it.
Report. Waiting order.
Those are insane. I swear to God,
Location
they're insane.
confirmed.
Well, there's that tree line I was trying to hit.
Right.
You know, that night.
Right. And then we put a big, and then there's the ridge line right over there that led up to the forest. There's no, the forest is grown back now. That's where the guy got shot in the eye and killed there. Some
Ship
that platoon that went out. There's the ridge line right over
Move
there.
a
Look
little
at all the bombs
speed.
there.
Yeah,
All the ship.
that little 50 caliber position
Right up
right
in
in
there.
here somewhere.
Ship reporting.
Then we
When you
got
see my bunker over here, you'll recognize it.
Waiting
Right.
order. Vehicle reporting.
All I could hear
Waiting
was
order.
birds
Vehicle reporting.
And there's no
Location
more rain.
confirmed.
It stopped raining. It was just mist blowing in over the ridge line. You mist dip down and come back out. It was really eerie.
Moving.
I said an Our Father and a Hail Mary out loud.
Repairing.
And then I randomly pulled the names out of the bag. I read their name, the day they died. I
Vehicle
said,
reporting.
rest in peace.
Moving.
And then I let it go into the wind. And then I walked back down the hill. Now I'm on the LZ looking up towards the top.
Changing position.
And I looked up and I saw 8, 10
Ready, comrade.
figures standing in the mist
Changing
up there.
position.
Some had ponchos
Waiting
on,
order.
some had their helmets
Changing
on.
position.
They weren't in a formation, they were just standing in kind of a loose group. The
Waiting
wind was
order.
moving their
Changing
clothing and their
position.
ponchos. They weren't saying anything, they just were looking, and I really blinked and looked away thinking this is not possible. Maybe I'm just imagining this, and I
Vehicle
looked again.
reporting. Vehicle
still
reporting.
standing.
Vehicle reporting.
So I saluted one time. I'm not much for formalities, but I saluted one time, turned and walked back off the hill,
Airship
and never
ready.
looked back, over the LZ and all the way down.
Bearing set.
And coming a little further back, towards 861,
Ready.
and there was a foxhole there.
Ready, comrade.
It obviously been weathered. Then I fished around at the bottom, and there was a lock.
Waiting order.
I kind of opened it up a
Clear
little
the
bit.
air.
Moving.
There
I'll
was
carry
a
out the
picture
operation.
inside of a little girl and a woman.
Waiting order.
And
Vehicle
I
reporting.
thought, God damn, that's when I knew the foxhole was a Vietnamese
What are
foxhole.
dice,
This
comrade?
is a North Vietnamese soldier who died there.
Dive.
That is the tragedy.
Good
For every
fishing
veteran
here.
that's out there, there's family behind.
Sounds good.
And as heartbroken as people feel about someone dying next to
Helium
them,
mix optimal.
back home,
Setting
people
new
are
course.
keep feeling even worse.
Vehicle reporting.
Personnel carrier ready.
It's a really good business. You keep doing it
Getting in
for
closer. Ready for transport. Maneuvering.
If you could use
Armored
one word
personnel
to
carrier
describe
ready.
that whole
I'll carry out
experience,
the operation.
what would it be?
Vehicle reporting. Moving.
Grateful for having the life that I've lived since then.
Unit promoted.
I've lived a very charmed and lucky life.
Confirmed.
Ready.
You know, I have 4 kids. We've got 11 grandkids.
Acknowledge.
I feel really
Bearing
good.
set. Bearing set.
My
Bearing
dad
set.
smoked from the time he was 14. Chesterfield Kings, never quit.
Lost.
They took out a lung from smoking. So in the process of dying of lung
Waiting order.
cancer and
Vehicle ready,
emphysema,
comrade.
he was in the hospital,
Moving.
and we talked about Vietnam. And
Acknowledge.
he said the reason I was so
I love
and
my
disappointed was that as FBI agents,
Sounds
we
good.
knew the way the war was being run. There was no
Airship
way they
ready.
could do it.
Helium mix setting new course.
Just that's what he thought. That's what the FBI thought. The way it was being run, couldn't win it. And he
Yes,
said
Commander.
it tore me up
Yes,
inside.
Commander.
It made me so
Navigating.
angry,
Yes,
but also
Commander.
afraid that my
Fire
oldest
and
son would
wind.
voluntarily put himself in a place of harm like that. He said, that's why I said all the things and didn't say anything in all those months, years back, you know. And I said, Dad, I understand.
Fire at will.
That was the only time we ever talked about it, but he knew, they knew.
Vessel ready.
War is a bad business. And whether you're wounded
Ready for transport. Here,
physically,
clear the air.
everybody gets wounded
Serving the call.
emotionally, psychologically. You can't escape that. It may end, the war they're in, the conflict they're in may end, but the battle inside, the mind and the brain goes on forever. 90% of my life is in my rearview mirror. It's only 10% left, and I want to make the
War
best of
miner
those
here,
10%.
making Russia strong. Equal share for everyone.
Yes, Commander. Target sighted. Yes, Commander. Target sighted. Vessel ready. Fire at will. Airship ready. Vessel ready. Bearing set. Target sighted. Ship reporting. Cruise and fire. Ship reporting. Cruise and fire. Ship reporting. Yes, Commander. Fire at will. Target sighted. Target sighted. Yes, Commander. Vessel ready.
Hello, this is Daryl Ehrlich, and this is the Billings Gazette Vietnam Voices series, a series by the Billings Gazette, sponsored by Master Lube. And today, I am very lucky. We've got a very special story for you. Richard E. Tango was with the U.S. Army from 1967 to 1968. And he did something that we haven't talked about before on this series.
Let's keep the ore
we talked
moving.
about combat. We talked about the
Waiting
southern
order.
part of what was
Location
then South
confirmed.
Vietnam.
Yes,
But
Commander.
some of the things that he did are pretty unique, and I'm not going to steal any more of his thunder, but I'd like
Helium
to thank
mix
him for coming in.
optimal.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes,
We
Commander.
appreciate it. Well, let's start. You know,
Vessel
if
ready.
you've listened to these
Fire
or
at
heard
will.
these, I start at the beginning because that's a good
Vessel
place to
ready.
begin. What was life for you like before
Waiting
1967? What were you doing right
Waiting
after that,
order.
and how did you get in the
Moving.
Army?
I was going to the Ohio State University, Columbus,
Ship
Ohio,
reporting. Helium mix
Navigating.
and I
optimal.
had worked, which turned out to be a
Ship
mistake,
reporting.
2 quarters,
Fire at
and
will.
didn't know that that changed your category of the draft board. It was called an interrupted education.
Target sight.
Waiting order.
Airship
So
ready.
this, I had the
Closing on
physical,
tracking
and they said,
position.
well, you're on our list to be drafted. And I said, well, can I sign a paper? I'm close to graduating.
Bombardiers to your station. Wow.
And so some friends of mine were down at Lockbourne Air
Helium
Force
mix
Base,
optimal.
and they're in the
Bombardiers
Air
to your
National
station.
Guard. And they said, come on down here and just join the Guard.
Ship reporting.
And
Target
you
sighted.
just keep going to school.
Ship
And I said,
reporting.
okay, well,
Target
that's
helium
good.
mix
So I went down,
optimal.
it's all military.
Units
Maneuver
ready.
They
props
swore me in,
engaged.
gave me my jacket,
Yes, Commander. Engines
fur
engaged.
collar and all that. And I got a call from them a couple of days
Acknowledged.
later. They said,
Setting
you
new
got to bring
course.
all that
Units
back.
ready.
Let's
The
clear
draft
the
board's
air.
claiming they sent a
Vehicle
notice in the
reporting.
mail
Vehicle
before
reporting.
you took the pledge. And they were that
On hold.
short on getting their quota. So I had to return all that.
Wow.
And I talked to the draft board about
Comrade?
this all happened getting close to Christmas.
Comrade?
So it's all,
Order
it keeps
received.
Christmas special
Airship
in my mind.
ready.
So I told the draft
Target
board
acquired.
I'd like to go to Connecticut where my parents lived
Ready.
and dump some of my
Maneuver
stuff.
props
And they said, no,
engaged.
that's fine. You can report up there to the
Vehicle
draft board as
reporting.
soon as you get there.
Changing position.
I was into hunting, fishing,
Changing
camping,
position.
trapping,
War miner here.
possessions. I put some stuff in storage because I was 24 years old at this time.
You were close to what were you graduate? What were you studying?
A bachelor's degree in business.
Ready, comrade.
And
Moving.
to make a long story short, I went to Connecticut and the draft board said, well, when do you want to go in? I said, what do you mean? They said, well, we have no shortage of people. So I just took a
What is
couple
the
weeks
mission?
off.
Here,
And
them
I
apart.
went
Getting in
on
closer.
a train
Conscript reporting.
Went through New
Moving
York
out.
City. They picked up more guys.
Torpedoes armed.
Had some pretty rough individuals.
Dive!
They had guys that actually jumped off the train at different stops because they took us down to Fort Jackson.
Setting new course. The water's warm, yes?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Get away.
We
Vessel
got
ready.
off the train, we had two DIs, drill instructors, and they were both
Engines
drunk.
engaged.
They had just finished a
Fire at
class, and they weren't supposed to
Course
get another
set.
class. So they started in on us, and
Vessel
one guy
ready.
started throwing up blood.
Navigating.
So they put us in a wooden barracks, had a front stove. This was
Target
winter,
sighted.
and there's a pile of coal and some newspapers.
I love
and
my
the windows are
ship.
nailed open.
Rising the current.
Cross draft.
Close and fire.
And we were freezing
reporting. Captain
our butts
confirming.
off, so you slept in your clothes with one
Course
blanket.
set.
And the next day,
Yes,
they said,
Commander.
we're putting you on buses.
Close and fire.
Turned out this kid that was
Helium
injured
mix
or
possible.
apparently was connected.
Setting new course.
So they
Vessel
sent
ready.
us to North Carolina, Fort Bragg. These drill instructors were what you would expect, more professional, but still drill instructors. So I did Fort Bragg. That was your
Fire at
basic.
will.
Then
Yes,
you graduated from that. You went to advanced infantry, and that was going to be Fort Polk, Louisiana, which
Helium mix
was
possible.
strictly for Vietnam. So you knew what was going on there. And I went through that at Louisiana, got pneumonia somehow, and
Waiting order.
they
Changing
put you in a
position.
hospital.
Ship
The doctor
reporting.
wasn't available.
Engines
It was like a
engaged.
Friday. They get you up at
Course
3 in the
set.
morning, change your
Yes,
sheets because
Commander.
you're soaking
Fire
wet.
at will.
Doctor was coming in Monday. And if you missed graduation, which was going to be that week, we cycled back in through the whole thing again. Ran rusty and coughed up phlegm, drank cold water, tried to get my fever down.
Vessel ready. Close
Got rid
and
of all I
fire.
could, went in and saw him just as bright and cheery and said, I don't know why I'm here, I feel great.
Engines
So I
engaged.
graduated,
Armed.
got back
Running
to Connecticut
silent.
with it. Still had a fever
Wow.
and got some aspirin. Is it wonder some people don't like basic training?
Good fishing here. Rising
So
the
that
current.
was what happened after that.
Yeah, so
Let's
you
clear
get
the
back
air.
up. For you,
Fire
I got a
in
question
trouble.
for you.
Maneuvering.
You know, you were thinking that you were going to be
Nice
fine,
day
you were
for
going
a
to graduate. Was
New weekend
Vietnam, you're
getaway.
older, was Vietnam even on your radar in
Checking course
1966?
under pressure. Dive.
Was it even something that you
Running
were
silent.
considering?
Good
Well,
under pressure.
you're reading about the draft
Vessel
and
ready.
quotas.
Captain confirming.
I
Good under
figured,
pressure. Use stealth. Vessel ready.
They called it the
Yes,
New
Commander.
Action Army, and what they were doing
Ship
with the New
reporting.
Action Army is
Close
if you
and
had
fire.
education,
Waiting orders.
then you should be in
Yes,
combat.
Commander.
This is the way I understood
Yes,
it.
Commander.
If you weren't very well
Ship
educated,
reporting.
then the Army should train
Fire.
you so you could
Yes,
have
Commander.
something to
Target
do.
sighted.
And
Yes,
I had a
Commander.
black fella in my class, and he
Vessel
was from
ready.
somewhere down south.
Yes,
I can't
Commander.
remember, but
Close
he had
and
trouble
fire.
tying his boots.
Vessel
so I
ready.
helped him tie
Fire
his
at
boots.
will.
He came to me and he
Yes,
said, they're putting me
Commander.
into engineering.
Fire at will.
What am I going to do?
Yes, Commander.
He
Ship
said, he
reporting.
had
Fire
practically
at
no
will.
education.
Yes,
So
Commander.
they'll teach you to be an engineer.
Right.
You know, I'm going to be 11 Bravo.
Okay.
And that's how it was kind of split up. So, but I knew that when I got out of college, to go to Canada or get married or go into service. And I wasn't about to get married or go to Canada.
Okay.
And my father had been in the Second World War.
Location confirmed.
And I was too old to
Ready,
be
comrade.
acting like a
Vessel
17-year-old
set.
anyway.
Close
Right.
and fire.
Right, so you kind of accepted that probably one way or another you're going to
Yeah.
Good under pressure.
Right.
Dive.
Were you afraid of Vietnam at the time? I mean, it was escalating, but not quite at this point in 67, 68. Was it something that was a scary prospect, or was it just what it is?
Well, you just have to accept it. I had a lot of hunting, camping, fishing, ran a pipeline in high school, so the outdoors were something I was familiar with. had used weapons quite a bit.
Changing position.
So I thought I had that
Vessel ready.
advantage. And it turned out I did. There were some people that never,
Fire at will.
they just had training with a rifle and they'd never been outside other than their training. And it was a real shock to be put out in the woods at night and there's things going on. So I just sort of, what are you going to do? That's it.
Yeah. So let's, so you are trained in AIT Bravo, that is infantry. So you're trained on rifle. What specialty that you got in AIT, or what were you kind of? What was your? What did you learn how to do? Or qualified to do?
Well, after Fort Polk, which is known as the armpit of America, I got orders to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky, to armor training. And so some friends of mine took me down there and left me off. And I was trained to drive an APC armored personnel, 12 tons of aluminum.
Vessel ready. Fire at will.
And that was probably the most enjoyable experience in the military. Driving around that big thing, driving over trees, and you could float. They also float.
Vehicle reporting.
Or bilge pump.
Waiting order. Target sighted.
That was kind of enjoyable. Plus, I think at my age, I just didn't blindly obey or take things that were thrown at me. So I said, we're going to have a big inspection, and the colonel's going to have white gloves. This is like a big machine. And have it so clean, if he finds any grease or any dirt, it's trouble. So I just took mine and I put it down at the end of the line and hung a sign on it, deadline, and that meant it had a mechanical job and be inspected.
Changing position.
But what are they going to do? Send you to Vietnam? I mean, what are they going to do? Yell at you?
Right.
So that was fun. I mean, it's kind of a joke.
Right. I think that, and this is probably a question that maybe we should ask you later. Did being 24 at least help you more than, say, being 18? I mean, was your age a credit to you?
Yes, Commander.
Yes, you're more mature, you're more settled down, and I think you understand things better. You certainly don't blindly obey an order that could get you killed.
Yes, Commander. Under pressure.
And I did refuse, and people did get killed. You know.
So after you get trained APC and then you get your, I'm guessing you got your orders for, since you're going to Fort Polk, you got your orders for...
Pride of the working class
I already knew.
at once,
Okay,
comrade.
so where were those orders, and where did you tell me about leaving the U.S.?
Well, I went to Oakland and met a friend up there who'd been in basic training with me, and he was handling who was getting on the next plane, so I got some idea of when my time was coming. And you're put together with just a bunch of guys, and they do everything alphabetically in the Army. So I was with a guy that later got wounded severely, Wayne Takahata from Hawaii.
What can I do?
Because Tangled Takahata. So we messed around up Oakland. He couldn't leave the base. And, you had a duffel bag with clothes in it. You had your dress uniform stuff in there, and with civilian-looking shoes, which by the time I got out of Vietnam, they had turned green with mold.
For Soviet people.
So they were totally useless. All that stuff got wet in the Mekong building.
Serving
out
the
of Oakland, stopped at Hawaii for 20 minutes. I did get to see Hawaii. It's on my bucket list. It's not that far away. And flew over Wake Island and then did a circle job and came down and I believe we landed in Benoit, as I can remember. And they lined you up and they put this group's going to the 24th, this group's going to the Big Red One. X5 are going to the Mekong Delta, 9th Division. That's how they did it. And right then I knew, well, this is another snafu.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to drive APCs, and obviously I'm not going to be driving any APCs. And that's why you call it a snafu.
Right. With that had to be different for you?
No, it's just you know, after you're in the military and you've gone through that much training, you're well into whatever it is, there's nothing you can do about it. So,
Yeah, well, that seems like a pretty mature response,
Pride of
too.
the working
You know,
class.
doesn't sound like an 18-year-old response.
Ready, comrade.
Sounds like a
Moving.
24-year-old.
Waiting order. Ready, comrade.
What's your impression of it?
Changing position.
well, like every article, I think you've asked that question
of the
of
working
everybody
class.
think it's around, because I've read the Gazette articles before. You know, you're getting off air-conditioned air.